All right, so here's the deal. Someone asked me what are LeBron's 10 best playoff games? Where does the Detroit 48 special game rank? And I said to myself, you know what? That's a great question. We've got time here. So over the next 2 weeks, every day we're going to unveil one of LeBron's 10 best playoff games from 10 to 1. But in order to do that, we have to first mention the games that missed the cut. So what you're about to see is LeBron's 20 best playoff games that are not in his 10 best playoff games. So somewhere 11 to 30 are, and these are in chronological order. I'll go through some of these quickly. That first game you see, 32, 11, and 11, that was his first playoff game ever. First playoff game ever, 21 years old. How about a 30-point triple-double? That 2008 game, the next one, first Game 7 ever. The greatest Game 7 player other than Bill Russell in NBA history gives you 45 points. That East semis against Atlanta, how about a 47, 12, and 8? No one even remembers it. Orlando, those two games in the same series, 49, 6, and 8, 37, 14, and 12. That Game 5 facing elimination. 2010 East semis at Game 3 at Boston, 38, 8, and 7. That was the series, remember, that he quit on the Cavs, his final series with the Cavs, dropped to 38, 8, and 7. That 40, 18, and 9, the next game, they were down 2-1. They hadn't won a title yet in Miami. They're without Chris Bosh. He drops 40, 18, and 9. That triple-double beneath it, that's how he won his first championship, triple-double Game 5 of the finals. 30, 10, and 10 against Indiana, that was where he had the buzzer-beating layup to go up 1-0 in that series. 37, 18, and 13, that Hawks team won 60 games. Give me the next 10 that didn't even make the top 10. I'll go through these a little bit quicker if we can. The next one, that's a Game 1 against Golden State in the NBA Finals. A little 40 points. That's a Game 5 in the same NBA Finals, a 40-point triple-double. That's the final game of those NBA Finals, 32, 18, and 9. I remind you, the guy who guarded him that series won Finals MVP. Now we'll go to more recent times. A 41-point triple-double against Indiana to go up 3-0. How about in the finals against Golden State again, facing elimination, 41, 13, and 8. And then the last time we saw him in the playoffs, that 46, 12, and 5 included the game-saving block and the game-winning buzzer beater, and then in Game 7, 45, 8, and 7. The very next round of 43, 8, and 14, and then in the finals, 2 straight games against the Celtics, facing elimination, down 3-2, 46, 11, and 9 in 46 minutes, and then in Game 7, 35, 15, and 9 in all 48 minutes. So those are all games that are not in LeBron's 10 greatest ever. So let me give you his 10th greatest playoff game ever. It is one I think we all remember. Kevin Wildes was there. Game 2 of the 2015 Finals at Golden State, a Warriors team that was 39-2 at home. They had lost Kyrie Irving. They had lost Kevin Love. And in overtime, LeBron gives you 39, 16, and 11. And I remind you, in that game, a game the Cavs won, here are the Cavs who made a basket. Matthew Dellavedova, Iman Shumpert, Timothy Mozgov, J.R. Smith, and James Jones. And I'll remind you, the finals MVP for that series in that game had 7 points. Number 9, and now when people see it, I think they're going to say this should be higher, but then you'll see over the next 2 weeks the top 8. Number 9 was LeBron's first truly iconic moment, all-time moment in the NBA. It's the 48 special against the Detroit Pistons. This is the game where LeBron James, on a team with Sasha Pavlovich, Drew Gooden, Zydrunas Ilgauskas, and Larry Hughes as the 4 other starters, took on a Pistons team that was in the midst of going to 6 straight conference finals and ended their stranglehold on the conference. LeBron did it by scoring 25 straight points, including 29 of 30 in the fourth quarter and the overtimes of that game. He had a dunk to send the game to overtime. He had a layup with less than 2 seconds left to win the game in double overtime. That game was 4,702 days ago. From that moment until right now, LeBron James has been the best basketball player alive. That, for almost any other player in the history of the league, would have been their single greatest playoff moment, career moment ever. For LeBron, it's number 9. Jenna, it is LeBron James's 9th best playoff game, the 48 special against the Detroit Pistons. Number 8 is a game most famous for something someone else did, but that game would have never ended the way it did if not for what LeBron did. It's the Ray Allen game. It's 32, 10, and 11, facing elimination against the San Antonio Spurs, a Spurs team that, with Duncan and Popovich, had never lost in an NBA Finals, could have won championship number 5 right then and there. People forget the context of this game. The Spurs are up 10 going into the fourth quarter. LeBron James scores or assists on 16 consecutive points, turning a 12-point deficit at one point into a tie game in that fourth quarter, leading up to the Ray Allen 3. LeBron scored or assisted on 24 of the Heat 29 points. Wade and Bosch, by the way, made 0 baskets in that fourth quarter and scored 2 points. LeBron hit the 3 to cut a 5-point lead to 2 to set up the Ray Allen 3 after Kawhi Leonard would then miss 1 free throw. And LeBron is the one that forced Tony Parker on the potential game-winning shot in regulation after the Ray Allen 3 into an air ball. This was the game that set up Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which you will see later on this list, a little spoiler alert. And it was, up to that point, the most brilliant fourth quarter of LeBron James' career. Championship on the line, goes 16-4-4 to turn a double-digit deficit into a game that goes to overtime where the Heat ultimately prevail. Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals, the Ray Allen game, is LeBron's 8th greatest playoff game of all time. All right, so you see 10 through 9 there. 10 and 7 are somewhat correlated. 10 was Game 2 of the Finals against Golden State, his first year back in Cleveland. 7 is Game 3 of those same Finals. LeBron James goes 40, 12, 8, 4 blocks, 2 steals. Just an absolute tour de force performance. That play right there, key play late in the game on a fast break. Matthew Dellavedova, who was the second best player at this point on this team, finds LeBron James for that alley-oop. The context for this game is very important. At this point in the Finals, LeBron was averaging 41, 12, and 8 in 48 minutes per game to go up 2-1 on Golden State, the best team in basketball, when he had no Kyrie, he had no Kevin Love. Also, this game solidified what ended up happening a year and a half later with Kevin Durant joining the Warriors, because these opening of this series and the closing of the next year's final series made it crystal clear to anyone involved Golden State had no answer for LeBron. And a little extra context to this, his 7th greatest playoff game ever. This was the longest losing streak Golden State would have for 2 years. That season or the next season, 2 in a row to the Cavs in the finals with no Kyrie, no Kevin Love. The next time they would lose more than 2 in a row was 3 in a row in the finals the next year. And my guess is those 3 games will show up shortly in the remainder of this list. But there is LeBron James, 7th greatest playoff game ever. Game 3, NBA Finals 2015, 40, 12, 8, 4, and 2 as the Cavs go up 2-1 on the Warriors despite being desperately shorthanded. All right, number 6 is maybe the most memorable game of his career. Game 7, 2016 NBA Finals. 27, 11, 11, 2, and 3 to win his first championship in Cleveland, his 3rd championship ever. This game, of course, had the greatest block in NBA history to complete the greatest comeback in NBA history against the greatest team in NBA history. Everyone knows that. What people, I think, forget is this. In the final 9 minutes of this basketball game, the only shot made by any Cav, the only point scored by any Cav other than LeBron was Kyrie's 3. In the final 5.5 minutes of this game, LeBron outscored the Warriors by himself 7-2. In the same time frame, Steph Curry was 0 for 5 with maybe the worst turnover in the history of the league, the behind-the-back pass out of bounds. And in a perfect way to put a bow on his career, because this is the moment he became the greatest player ever. The greatest player ever has one flaw, his free throw shooting. So how did he pull off and finish the greatest comeback ever for the greatest achievement in the history of the sport ever? A game-clinching free throw, potentially with a broken wrist. I still don't know what happened in the wrist on that foul on the dunk.
Oh, no!
In order to ice the basketball game. 27, 11, 11, 2, and 3. Triple-double, Game 7 of the Finals.
He also had a headache,
and that
Wild.
is not even
He had a headache
one
that
of
night.
his 5 greatest playoff games ever. It's number 6 on LeBron's 10 greatest playoff games ever. Number 5 gets us to one of the 3 biggest games of his career, even though it wasn't one of the 3 best games of his career. His 5th best playoff game. It's Game 5 is number 5 against the Warriors in 2016. 41, 16, 7, 3, and 3. Let me take you back in time a bit. This was supposed to be the coronation game for the 73-win Warriors. They were being asked before the game if they were better than the Showtime Lakers, much less better than the 2016 Cavs. Yet in this game, LeBron James, the 41 points stand out, but the 3 was just as important. 3 blocks in this game, 2 of which were a sign of things to come. 1 on Steph Curry in transition, which he would then duplicate in Game 6. Shortly thereafter, Steph would get ejected and his wife would accuse the league of being rigged. The other, and it's forgotten, on Andre Iguodala on a full fast break layup attempt that gets swatted against the glass. That would be a foreshadowing of the greatest defensive play in the history of the league. People call this the Draymond game because Draymond wasn't there and LeBron scored 41 points. LeBron then, of course, scores 41 the following game with Draymond there. But what gets forgotten about this game is this. Klay Thompson was lights out in the first half, scoring 26. LeBron matched him with 25, keeping the Cavs in it. Then LeBron and Kyrie took over in the third, lead the Cavs to a 15-point victory in an elimination game. Stave off elimination against the Warriors, only to have the next couple games, well, we know how those went. So, number 5 for LeBron, 41, 16, 7, 3, and 3 against the 73-win Warriors in Oracle. Now we're getting to really, truly the cream of the crop. You see the 10 through 5, in front of you. Number 4, though, was the final game of arguably the finest season LeBron James has ever had. The Game 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals, 37 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals to culminate, as I mentioned, the greatest season of LeBron's career. This was the year he was 1 vote away from winning unanimous league MVP, the year he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year balloting, and this was, of course, after the Ray Allen game. This basketball game has a lot of importance for a number of reasons. One is it gave LeBron his second straight title for the Heat team that had won 27 straight during the regular season. The other reason was all series long, the San Antonio Spurs, coached by the greatest coach ever, and a team that had not only 4 future first ballot Hall of Famers on it, but 3 finals MVPs on it. All series long, they had dared LeBron to shoot. So what did he do in Game 7? He shot the damn ball. Only 6 of those 37 points came at the rim. He had 33 points in the final 30 minutes of this basketball game. And how did the game end? After Tim Duncan misses a layup, LeBron James hits the game-winning 19-foot jump shot and then has the game-sealing steal for a 37-point, 12-rebound, 4-assist, 2-steal Game 7 Finals MVP effort for his second title. For every player in the league right now, that would be the best game of their career by a mile. It does not crack LeBron's top 3. We'll do those the rest of this week, but that's game number 4, Jenna Wolfe. Third best playoff game of all time for LeBron James is the 2016 NBA Finals, Game 6 against the Golden State Warriors, the 73-win Warriors. The stat line is out of this world, 41, 8, 11, 4, and 3. He played essentially a perfect basketball game, scoring, passing, defending. It was, in fact, in the last 50 years, the only other person to have a 40 and 10 in the NBA Finals points and assists is LeBron James another time. But the reason this is number 3 is not because of the stat line. The reason this is number 3 is because of the moments and the narrative. This is the single biggest basketball game that's ever been played in the state of Ohio. And LeBron not only rose to the occasion, he exceeded it. The previous game, LeBron had 41. And we were told that's because Draymond wasn't there. No way LeBron would score 41 if Draymond was there. So Draymond comes back and he scores exactly 41 again. And after the game, LeBron James says, we have the Warriors bleeped up mentally. We have them bleeped up physically. And we saw that play out in real time during the game. When shortly after this moment right here, if you can see it, this block on unanimous MVP Steph Curry, Steph gets so frustrated when he gets called for a foul, he flings his mouthpiece out of at the crowd, hits a guy, gets kicked out of the game, and his wife accuses the league of being rigged for ratings or money she doesn't know. The 73-win unbeatable Warriors were broken at that point in time in this basketball game. It's the finest game LeBron James ever played at home in Cleveland. It is the number 3 game of his career. Well, it's very interesting you mentioned The Last Dance because much like Michael Jordan, LeBron James' second greatest game of his career came against one of the greatest teams ever in the playoffs in an overtime loss. For Jordan, it was the 63 points against the 86 Celtics in the first round. For LeBron, it was the 51, 8-8 in the NBA Finals Game 1 of 2018. It honestly might be the single most perfect basketball game a player has ever played. It's not number 1 because his team lost and because it didn't have the significance of the number 1 game. But LeBron James in a game where Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance and George Hill and Jeff Green were playing major roles for his team, while Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant all played 45 minutes or more for the opposing team, had his team in position to win with seconds remaining before, of course, unfortunately, George Hill misses a free throw and JR forgets the score, and that's what the game's remembered for. What it should be remembered for is the final minute where LeBron was attempting to put the finishing touches on his masterpiece. Down 1, LeBron drives past Steph Curry for an and 1 to put his team ahead. The very next possession, LeBron draws a charge on Kevin Durant, and then the single worst officiating overturn in NBA history turns that charge into a block. The next possession, LeBron drives past KD and Draymond for a layup, and the very next possession, he finds George Hill for the would-be game-winning layup, and then, of course, we know what happened from there. 51, 8-8 on a undermanned Cavs team against the most talented team ever. It's LeBron James' second greatest game of his playoff career. All right, if you look at this list, you see thus far there's only been one game on the list that is not an NBA Finals game. That was the 48 special against Detroit when 22-year-old LeBron took the league by storm, scoring 25 consecutive points to essentially announce himself as the best player in the league. There is one other game on this list that is not an NBA Finals game. It is the number 1 game on the list. It is the single most important game of LeBron's career. Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Eastern Conference Finals. 2012. I said the wrong year. 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. LeBron's 45, 15, and 5 in Boston, down 3-2. Now, the numbers are unbelievable. LeBron became the first guy since Wilt to score that many points that late into the playoffs on that few free throws. He did it all with jump shots, only had 4 baskets at the rim. But it's not about the numbers. It's about where LeBron's career was and where it could have gone and where it did go. If they lose that game, they break up the Big 3 in Miami. He follows up the failure of the 2011 Finals with letting the Big 3 in Boston beat him again. Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett thought they had him mentally beaten in this series after they had won 3 straight going into this game. And LeBron James' career, who knows what it becomes. Instead, he plays up to that point the greatest game he had ever played, in the most important game he's ever played. And from that moment forward, he went on an 8-year run, the likes of which the league had never seen. He made 7 more consecutive NBA Finals. He won another league MVP. He won 3 Finals MVPs, and he was the best player on the court for 7 consecutive NBA Finals, which has never been done before and never will be done again. The most important and the best game of LeBron's career, Game 6, 2012 Eastern Conference Finals, 45, 15, and 5. And I'll kick it to you, Tori. Tori, you've now seen this whole list. Your thoughts, your critiques, your concerns on LeBron's 10 greatest playoff games.
I mean, there's so many amazing games. I think you did a great job picking them out. And I remember your number 1 choice in particular. That was the game he was a man on a mission. He was hitting like 9 out of his first 10 or 11 shots. And he was just so aggressive. Yep. And that's something that people try to knock him for, not being dominant and trying to score all the time. He kind of lets the game come to him. But that's a game that I remember him just taking over like, hey, it's on me, which is the way he basically plays all the time. But people like to isolate it. But he did his thing, and I think he's the greatest player of all time. Whenever you look at his stat sheet, you're going to see rebounds, you're going to see assists. He makes everyone around him better. And I have arguments literally every day, with my best friends, Derek and Angel, and LeBron is at the top of the list. They send all the memes. They send all the and all I've responded back with clips of you leading the LeBron Stan Club. So I'm loving it, man. Keep up the great work.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.